100,000 watts. It's kind of a legend.
Most people don't realize that 100,000 watts is the most powerful a radio station can be. So any other big radio station in town can't exceed that power. And here you are, you have a student-run radio station that's as powerful as the biggest station in Atlanta. It's amazing.
Jeff Walker in the 80s, switching us up to 100,000 watts.
When we went on the air in 1971, WRAS was 19,500 watts, and it remained that way until 1987 when we finally turned on our 100,000 watt facilities. Having 100,000 watts is unique in terms of college radio. We're the only student-operated station in the country with 100,000 watts, but being in Atlanta, we need 100,000 watts to reach all the students and all the staff members that drive many miles to get here.
And it means on a good day we can be heard in up to 5 states, Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. And we've even got a letter once from a gentleman in Minnesota who was an FM enthusiast. He had his own special antenna that actually picked us up all the way up there one day and wrote us a letter about it. It's amazing to be the only one, and I think it's a huge sense of pride.
Currently, I am the advisor and operations manager for WRAS.
I'm the marketing manager for Adult Swim.
I am a supervising producer in on-air promotions at Turner Network Television right here in Atlanta.
Currently, I'm the assistant programming manager at Turner Classic Movies.
I was general manager from 2008 to 2010 at WRAS.
I'm the current general manager.
And I'm the current news director at WRAS.
I am a DJ for Beatscape Lounge here on Album 88.
I loved the bands that came through the station. Some of my very favorite bands ever came through and did live sets. Willie Nelson, who was here, that's pretty epic. You can't get more epic than Willie Nelson.
Willie, would you care to play another song?
Yeah. What about the opening of Teatro?
I don't have a problem with that.
The radio station had played Willie Nelson records, here and there, maybe on the country show, but we hadn't really had a chance to have him down to the station and interview him. That was huge.
Having the opportunity to meet Willie Nelson was one of the highlights of my life, and I also have one of the biggest regrets. Meeting him, holding his legendary guitar, which I got to do that day, meeting his sister, it was all amazing. Listen to him perform. He actually was sitting closer to me then than you are right now. Like, he was right there, and he's such an icon. It was the highlight, one of the highlights of my life. One of the biggest regrets of my life, Willie gets on the tour bus, turns around, says, "Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it." His sister turns around, grabs my hand, and says, "Why don't you get on the tour bus and come down to the show with me?" And I look up and I'm like, just like blown away. And one of his bodyguards looks at me and does one of these. And I was like, "Thank you, I appreciate it, but no, just, have a great show, best of luck." And I walk away, and I swear to God, there's not a year that's gone by since then that I don't think about that at least once a year.
That interview prepared me for any other interview I was going to do in the future, or working with celebrities, because that kind of broke my, oh my God, what am I going to say, what am I going to do thing, that they're human too, they have to put their pants on one leg at a time just like everybody else.
WRAS has contributed a lot to Atlanta culture, and you can hear it from when you first start working on the air and getting phone calls.
The listeners at WRAS are awesome. They're awesome because we want to hear everything that they have to say. They're very candid about how they feel about our music. If they don't like it, they will tell us. If they love it, they will tell us. They will ask for where they can get all music like it. I think that's the basis for our specialty shows. And I think it's a large part due to our listeners, who are great and who we at Album 88 truly appreciate.
I married a listener. From time to time, DJs will, if they're at the station long enough, they'll have listeners that'll call them all the time, and not stalkers. We don't like to call them stalkers, we like to call them listeners. And they'll always call, and they think they're your buddy. But we had one listener in particular who would call up that everybody knew and knew his voice because he was a reporter at Channel 5 here in Atlanta at WAGA. And oh, that's that Doug Richards guy from Channel 5 calling again, wanting to hear Roxy music or Elvis Costello or something awesome, you know. And I did the All Request show, and he would always call in during the All Request show while he was on his way home from work, and just kind of struck up a conversation and invited him to a benefit show I was putting on. And when he walked into the Echo Lounge, which used to be open at that time when we were having our benefit show, I was like, wow, he looks much better in person than he does on TV. So I introduced myself, and from there we just kind of became friends, just sort of emailed a little bit, and then I was like smitten with that guy and chased him down, and we've been married for 9 years. So yeah, that's the story of my listener.
Most people that call in have been calling in for years and years and years. If they're 50 years old, they've been listening since they were in college or younger. Most DJs that start at the station, especially the ones that go to Georgia State specifically to work at the station, have been listening since high school. And I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, and it was the only radio station I ever listened to because it was the only radio station that played good music all the time. And if you have an open mind enough to enjoy more than one genre, then WRAS has the best programming for whatever you want to hear. And it's also been instrumental in a lot of the bands that have broken out of Atlanta, because geographically that's really hard for bands since you have to go at least 6 hours to hit another market. So it's not like Southern California where you can go on a tour and drive an hour and be to another destination where you can play a show. I think that the profile of the station and the national attention that we can get these artists has really helped them, and I think that well, I know I've spoken to many artists that agree that WRAS is instrumental in promoting Atlanta music.
The station has always had a big part in athletics here at Georgia State University. Back when we just had basketball and baseball to broadcast on the air way back in the 70s, we've been able to give many, many hours of exposure to our teams. Right now we're airing over 300 hours a year of sports broadcasts, mainly by Dave Cohen.
Well, my relationship with the radio station WRAS dates back to 1982 when I came to school here and got involved in the Georgia State basketball radio broadcasts. And I've been the radio play-by-play voice now of Panther basketball for the last 28 seasons. I've also been involved with Georgia State baseball, and of course we just finished our first season of Georgia State football. So it's been a long relationship on the radio between Georgia State and the Georgia State sports teams.
We don't have a huge news staff, but the reputation of our station as being very well run has helped two of our students to get jobs at NPR.
Now, The Hub is a GSU student-produced news show, and I love The Hub. All of the news team loves The Hub. You know why? Because they get a chance to really go out there and interview subjects that they enjoy. Just recently, this week, Alton Brown, you may know him from the Food Network. He came, pretty interesting.
A lot of people come to the university and they wonder why we're not WGSU instead of WRAS, and that's simple. In 1971, another radio station in New York had already received the call letters WGSU, and so we had a whole list of call letters that we asked for back when we applied for our permit in 1970, and none of the call letters that we wished to have in the list worked until we got down to WRAS, which stands for Radio at State.